Hello guys, a very good afternoon. We'll just wait for a minute and begin. A very good evening. My name is, I don't know how many of you have attended the demo, but can you just type it in the chat box, the ones who attended the demo, saying attended, 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 and the ones who have not attended can say not attended. I remember seeing a few names in the demo like Dhruti, Faya. So I want you to like type in the chat box and let me know if you've attended the demo or no. Not attended. Alina did not attend. Alina, you didn't even watch the recorded demo? Fayaz, you were there, no? I remember. Tax. You just got, oh, I think you, yeah, probably. Maybe one of the students I connected with today. So maybe that was you. Anyway, so just a brief introduction about myself for those of you who don't know. My name is Shaz Farooqi. I have been teaching now from about a decade. Okay, I've taught thousands of students, helped them clear their exams, whether it's the PM, AA, FR, any paper of ACCA it is. I have obviously a decade, right? So I have had various batches, and all these batches have covered all the paper. In fact, I am right now, as you all know, we had like any one skill level paper you could do it with us for free, right? So obviously, all these five skill level papers that we're running, I'm teaching it. So by God's grace, results have been good from this decade. And I'm very happy to say that the result has never gone below 85%. I mean, I've always maintained a pass rate of 85%. It never has gone below that, right? So, I mean, if you are listening to the classes, attending the classes regularly and with full sincerity, sitting with your notes, sitting with your calculator, then there is nothing that can stop you, right, from clearing the exam and passing. Now, how are the classes structured? I did mention that 5:30 we start the class, and 5:30 to 5:40 we ask questions. So basically, I will ask you questions from the previous class. Now, obviously, this was the first class. This is the first class. So obviously, there is no asking questions from the previous class. So in this session until 5:40 will just be like the basic intro, right? And then 5:40 to, let me check with my team actually, because we have exactly scheduled breaks. So I don't have the schedule with me in front of me. So let me just check what time is the break. 5:42. Babu, when is the break you said? 6:55 to 7:5. Thanks. Thank you so much. So 5:40 to 6:55 I will teach, like the first round of teaching. And then 6:55 to 7:05 p.m. there's going to be a break, and we will never change the break timings, right? And then 7:05 to 8:20 p.m. we have teaching round 2. And finally 8:20 to 8:30 is the review time, where we will look at everything we've covered in that specific class. Okay. Now, before I start before I start teaching you PM, again, personally, PM and probably even double A, but again, because this is the PM batch, personally, PM has been my all-time favorite. Right? It's a very interesting paper. I don't know, for whatever reason, uh, people panic and go like, oh, sir, but then we saw that, it has the lowest pass rate, in skill level papers, along with the double A. So, I mean, it is one of the most interesting papers of ACCA. Definitely, without any doubt, it is one of the most interesting papers of ACCA. So you need not worry, you need not panic. The only thing I want is if you're attending it live or whether you're watching this recording, you need to sit as if you are sitting in a real face-to-face class. Do not be lying on your bed. This is not a Netflix series. Do not be, I don't know, on the road walking. This is not Netflix, not a YouTube random entertaining video. This is a class. So please make sure that you are attending the class as a class where you are sitting with your notes, you're taking down notes, you are in class, and also at the same time you're sitting with a calculator because PM has quite a lot of calculations to do. People ask me if they have if we have uh, a demo. Sorry, I mean people ask me if there is theory. So yes, there is theory, and there is numbers also, right? So again, we at Finchartered, what we do is we strictly follow this. So we will not start or end before any of these timings. What do I mean by that? For example, if your break is 6:55 to 7:05, I won't give you the break 1 minute before. Sharp 6:55, you'll get the break, and sharp 7:05, you will come back from the break. Because a lot of places I know personally, the faculty gives the break and then the break goes on for 20 minutes. I mean, it's not going to be effective, right? Ultimately, we want to make sure that the class is very useful for you, right? And those who are watching recordings, they know, okay, first 10 minutes, this guy is going to ask questions to the students who are present live. So obviously, they can just skip it to 5:40. Minute 5:40, they can see the time on my screen and they can just skip it to 5:40 because they know sharp 5:40 I will start. And then they know when to forward. For the break also, they know that they have to forward till 7:05 p.m. and they can watch continuously from there, right? So again, for the next couple of minutes that we have, 2 minutes that we have, I wanted to know how many of you are writing your first skill level paper. Can you type it in the chat box? And the ones who have completed, just for my knowledge, I want to know my audience because I don't see you in front of me. So the ones who are writing PM as your first paper, let me know. And the ones who've cleared, let me know which papers you've cleared so far. And I also wanted to know, for the sake of time zones, if any of you are not in India, you need not mention which country you are in if you don't want to, but the ones who are not in India, just let me know. Not right now, maybe after a few months. What do you mean, Alina? Are you saying that you haven't written any PM exam? Sorry, you haven't written any ACCA exam? So she has cleared FR and AA. Great. Anyway, it is 5:40 p.m. sharp, and now is the time that we start the class. Now, unfortunately, the first 30 to 45 minutes of the class, especially just the first class, will be a little disappointing to those people who have attended the demo. But again, for the sake of those who are attending this class for the first time, for the first 30 to 45 minutes, I'll just recap on what we did in the demo. Given PM in December, but failed, and writing again in June. Your tax very good, right? So PM generally people fail with close marks, 49, 48. And failing at 49, 48 is more sad than failing at 30. Okay. So anyway, as I said, we are going to quickly do what I did in the demo. And then I'm going to start with the new topics. So in the demo was, I remember exactly, the demo was 7:45 to 8:30. Basically, it was a 45 minute demo, but obviously in that a few minutes went here and there, right? So effectively 35 minutes or so was the demo, right? So I will quickly recap as in, for the sake of those who haven't attended the demo, I will quickly go on what we did in the demo and then we will continue from there, right? And the first topic in PM that I want you to be aware of is activity based costing. What is activity based costing? And again, unfortunately, I will have to repeat the same thing which I mentioned in the demo with the same story and with the same example. But the ones who attended, I want them to respond fast and answer my questions. Let's play fastest finger first. Keep your fingers on the keyboard, and as and when I ask you something, immediately respond. Right? And before I explain ABC to you, I will give you a scenario, okay, where this is a house and four people are staying in this house. Four, right? Four people are living in this house, and the rent of this house is 10,000, say 10,000 rupees. Four people are staying in this house, right? So I will also write that down for those of you who don't like my art. Rent is 10,000, and number of people shared, of people staying, is 4. Tell me, how much rent is it fair for each person to pay? How much rent will each person pay according to this? Again, especially the ones who have not attended the demo, can you tell me how much rent will each person pay? Each person pays a rent is 2,500 per head. This is fair, right? You all feel that this is reasonable and this is fair. But let me add one more piece of information to this story. Okay, look at the second drawing, right? Four people are staying in this even now. The four people are, again, the four people are Alina. This much space Alina is using. Okay. Fayaz is using this much space in the room. Khushi is using this much space in the room. So Alina, Fayaz, and Khushi. And who is the fourth person in the room staying in the demo? Let's see if anybody recollects. Who was the fourth person in the room? The fourth person sharing the room. Anybody remembers? It was me, right? And if you remember in the demo, unfortunately, my story was a little sad because I was given the balcony. I'm staying in this small space. I was staying in the balcony, right? Now tell me if it is fair to split the rent equally, especially the ones who were not there in the demo. Is it fair? Alina is using so much space. Fayaz, okay. Khushi is using a little bit of space, and then I'm living in the balcony. It's not fair, right? Rent, again, Alina did not attend the demo, so I'm happy you are responding. Rent is 10,000. So I get this a little bit of panic attack if I suddenly remember that maybe the video is not being recorded, but thankfully it is being recorded. So rent is 10,000 even now in the same story. Number of people staying also is 4, but it is not fair to split the rent equally. I will create the problem first. I will feel it is unfair. Right? It is unfair to me. I am very sad. I'll not create a problem. I'm very nice. But I'll feel very sad. Right? I'll say, oh, but why am I paying equal rent? Right? So I will say, I will pay the rent based on how much space I am using. Okay, Zohaib, am I audible? Am I audible to everybody? Just let me know yes or no. Just I want to hear yes or no. Yes. Okay. So Zohaib, I hope you are able to hear me. But if still there's a problem, I am sure like if everybody is able to understand, I don't know, you will have to make some adjustment from your end. But I'll talk a little louder for your sake, but just ensure that your arrangements are made, right? So what we are doing is the it's not fair. So I will say I will pay the rent for how much space I am using, right? I will pay the rent for the space I use. So I will say, okay, oops. I say, okay, the room is 1,000 square feet. The room, the room is 1,000 square feet. And in that, Alina, as you can see, she is using 70% of the room. In that 1,000 square feet, Alina is using 700 square feet. Okay. The second person was Fayaz. Fayaz was using 150 square feet. And the third person, who was it? It was Khushi. Yes, my memory is very good. The third person was Khushi. Khushi is using 50 square feet. So 700 plus 200. No, Khushi is using 100 square feet. He's using 100 square feet. So 700 plus 100 and 250 is 950. And I am using, unfortunately, again, I have been ill treated here, where I have been given just 50 square feet, right? So what I will tell is, okay, oops, what I am telling is, if the, this is the problem with this drawing. Okay, I'll draw this later again. What I am telling is, if the rent of the room is 10,000 and the area of the room is 1,000 square feet, how much is the rent for 1 square feet? 10,000 is the rent for 1,000 square feet. So how much is the rent for one single square feet? 10,000 divided by 1,000, the rent per square feet. I want the answers before me. I need to feel dumb. So you people need to give me answers fast. So 10,000 is the rent for 1,000 square feet. So the rent for 1 square feet is 10. Because guys, remember, it's not only about teaching you well, but also ensuring that the syllabus is completed on time. So that will only happen with your support, right? 10,000 divided by 1,000, the rent per square feet is 10. And what I will say is this. I will say, okay, if I'm using only 50 square feet, I will pay only for the number of square feet which I am using. So I will say 50 square feet I am using, and the rent is 10 per square feet. So I will say I will only pay 500. As soon as I say I will only pay 500, immediately Khushi, what will Khushi say? Oh, okay, then I will also pay according to my activity, according to my usage. I'm using only 100 square feet and the rent per square feet is 10. So how much should Khushi pay? 1,000. I want the answers fast. Everybody should be giving me answers before me. Fayaz, on the other hand, again, very good, Alina. Fayaz will pay 1,500, and Alina finally she will say, okay, fine, I will have to pay for how much I am using. So Alina is paying 7,000. So as you can see, this rent of 10,000 has been paid where 7,000 Alina is paying, 1,500 Fayaz is paying. So 7,000 plus 1,500 is 8,500. 1,000 Khushi is paying. So 8,500 plus 1,000, 9,500. And 500 I am paying. So total 10,000 has been paid. But I have paid the rent based on my usage. I want you to tell me, look at scenario one and look at scenario two. Which one do you think is more fair? One or two? Very good, Sandesh. So whoever gives me the first answer is the person who is right. Sandesh, you are absolutely right. The fair approach is approach two. And that is what activity-based costing is. If you have understood approach two, you have already covered and completed activity-based costing. What is activity-based costing? Activity-based costing is basically where See here, you have taken the cost of 10,000 and you have split the cost based on the usage or based on the activity. Here I am having the lowest activity, so I am paying less. Alina is having the highest activity. She's using a space of 700 square feet, so Alina will pay more. So activity based costing is basically what? Activity based costing is a costing method. Activity based costing is a costing method where the cost is split fairly based on our usage or activity. Whoever is having more usage or activity will pay more, and whoever is having a less usage and activity will pay less. I'll give you another example before we look at the example from the textbook before we move to target costing. That is the next type of costing that we are looking at. But as of now, I'll give you one more simpler example to explain activity-based costing, right? And the example is, again, I gave this example in the demo, but four people go for lunch and the bill is 4,000 rupees. Normally, traditional costing, what will you do? How much will the rent, how much will the bill be per head? If you do it normally as per traditional costing, very good, Ishan. So normally it will be 4,000 divided by 1,000, which is 4. Sorry, 4,000 divided by 4, meaning each person will pay 1,000 rupees. But in activity based costing, you will look at the driver, as in what was the driver to the cost? Why did we get the cost? Obviously, you will get the cost for plates. The more plates you eat, the more cost will be incurred, right? So the number of plates totally that we ate were 20 plates. So obviously, if we ate 20 plates and the bill was 4,000, then how much is the cost per plate? How much is the cost per plate? Everybody respond. Very good, 200. So the cost per plate is 200. In that, Alina, I don't, Alina will get a little mad at me. But Alina ate how many plates? Alina ate 10 plates. Okay. Uh, Fayaz ate 5 plates. Okay. Khushi ate 4 plates. And again, always in all the stories, I am, you know, the innocent, wronged one. Wronged one as in the one who is, has been troubled by others. I ate only 1 plate because others did not give me plates. So again, I will say, okay, I will only pay for my activity. I will only incur the cost for my activity. So you see, where is the name coming from? I will pay cost based on my activity. If I ate less plates, I'll only pay less, right? So if the cost per plate is 200 per plate, and if I eat only 1 plate, I will pay 200 rupees only, right? Nina, why will I pay 100 rupees? I got 100 rupees discount. What about Khushi? Khushi will pay 800. What about Fayaz? Fayaz will pay 1,000. It's okay, Alina gave me a discount. And Alina will pay 2,000. So as you can see, this cost of 4,000 has been split fairly, where Alina paid 2,000, Fayaz paid 1,000, okay, Khushi paid 800, and I paid only 200. So 2,000 plus 1,000 plus 800 plus 200 is 4,000. So we paid the bill of 4,000, but we split it fairly based on our activity or usage, right? In today's class, again, now from now onwards, we will look at things that were not looked at in the demo. Yes, I know in the demo I did example one, but I only did the first part, setup cost. But in today's class, I will solve the entire example one before I move on to the next topic, right? So example one. Now, guys, please don't ask me, sir, is this the Kaplan textbook? Is this the BPP textbook? Look, obviously, I will use Kaplan because Kaplan, I personally feel, is easier worded. I don't know if you want to agree with me or not. But from time to time, I will also use other materials as long as they have the same content, right? This is from another, this is Kaplan, but it's for another exam. But again, the content is completely the same, right? But again, in class, I will always use Kaplan PM material, but for experience, for practice, I might take questions from 10 materials to give you enough practice, right? So as long as what we're doing is from the PM syllabus, I can practice from wherever, just to make sure that you get proper practice, right? Now, guys, let's look at this question. See, whenever you look at a question, please don't panic. Break that question into very, very small parts. And always look at the question first. Calculate the profit per unit for each model using ABC. So only focus on that. Don't put too much burden on yourself where you're trying to solve A also, B also, you're looking at A, you're looking at B. Don't do that. Okay, you read B, no problem. But at a time, you only do one thing. As of now, you are expected to calculate the profit per unit. And how do you do this? What do you do in order to calculate the profit per unit? Is something that we will have to look at. And again, you go up at the top. And if you go up at the top, you will see we're making two products, M1 and M2, right? Again, let's ignore the profit for now. Okay. We need to know the cost per piece. Again, we know material cost per piece for M1 is 11. We know the labor per unit is 2 hours will be needed. We know the labor rate per hour, we know this, all that we know. But there are certain other costs known as setup cost, for example, and that cost is an overhead cost. Now, don't worry if you don't know overhead. Overhead is something that was done in F2, and we will have certain things from F2, PMA, back in PM, right? And it's 6 o'clock. We will look at it, right? But again, we have a cost of 97,600 and it clearly says what is the driver of that cost. Remember, for rent, the driver was, why did you get rent? What is the driving factor for rent? Area. The more the area, the more the rent. So the driver was area. For our restaurant bill, the driver was number of plates. Okay. And for setup cost, the driver is the number of setups and it's given in the question. So you don't need to worry, right? So again, the cost is 97,000 and you need to know what is the driver. Just like again, I'll do the plates example again, side by side. So you know what are the steps. Remember, the bill was 4,000. What did we try to look at? We divided by bill, the bill by the number of plates. We divided it by the driver, right? Same way here, we need to know the driver, and the driver is the number of setups. Number of plates in the previous example, I told you, right? But in this question, number of plates is not given, so let it be X. Basically, we have to go back to the information and try to calculate the number of setups. And it's just basically common sense. M1, for example, just moving it. M1, for example, M1 is doing one setup per batch. But we need to know how many batches is M1 doing. Think about it. M1 is going to make 8,000 units. And in each batch, there are 2,000 units. So how many batches does M1 do? 4. Very good, Ishan. 8,000 units. It's like I'm teaching 8,000 students, and in each batch, I'll teach 2,000 students. So basically, I'll handle 4 batches. As of now, I'm handling just 5 batches for ACCA skill level. Right? So a little bit of show off is always helps. Right? So one setup per batch, I'm doing 4 batches. So I'm doing total of 4 setups. What about M2? Let's see who gives the final answer first. But M2 has 3 setups per batch. How do I know that? Please read the question. 3 setups per batch. And how many batches does M2 do? 8,000 pieces need to be made. And in each batch, there will be 100 units made. It's like I have to teach 8,000 students. And in each batch, only 100 students I'll take. So 8,000 divided by 100, I'll have to take 80 batches. So basically M2 is doing 3 setups for each batch. So for 80 setups, 3 into 80, it will be 240 setups. Again, guys, the ones who are watching this recording, I'm getting very fast answers from the live students, right? If you get caught up somewhere, or if you don't know where some calculation is coming from, do reach out on the student support number, also known as the hotline number. You can always definitely reach out and message one-on-one, right? I hope all of you have that student support number or hotline number. If not, just, I mean, it was shared in the group. You can go up the chats and check. And if not, we will keep sharing every now, right? So again, the number of setups is 240. Therefore, we have the answer. So the total setups are 4 for M1 and 240 for M2. So the total setups are 244. So there we have the golden answer. So we can fulfill this. We can remove this X, and we now know that the number of setups is 244. So just like, again, this I'm going to make it in black. You don't need to look at this right now. Ignore this piece of information for right now. But just like in my previous example, I calculated the cost per plate. Cost per plate was 4,000 divided by 20. You said the cost per plate is 20. Sorry, 200. Same way here, I'll try to get the setup cost per setup. Very good, Ishan. It is 97,600 was the cost for 244. Let me just. For 244 setups, so the cost per setup is 400. So we are literally repeating the plate example again. Now that we have the cost per setup, in the plate example, what did we do? We looked at how many plates did Alina eat. Alina ate 10 plates. So what did I do? The cost per plate was 200. So I allocated that cost to Alina and said 2,000 Alina will pay. Same way over here, exactly over here, what will I do? I know the setup cost is 400, and I know M1 is doing 4 setups. So M1 is like Alina over here. M1 has done 4 setups, and the cost per setup is 400. Very good, Ishan. So the cost is going to be 1600. So M1 will pay 1600. And what about M2? M2 is doing 244 setups. Remember, just like how we said Fayaz is eating 5 plates, the cost per plate was 200. So I move to the next person. So Fayaz will pay 1000. Same way over here, you move to M2. M2 is doing 240 setups, not 240. How many setups M2 is doing? Yeah, 240 setups M2 is doing, right? And the cost per setup is 400. So 400 into 240 is 96,000. So as you can see, just like the plate example, even over here, the cost has been split. The cost of 97,600 has been split fairly between M1 and M2 based on our activity or usage. And this is the implementation of activity-based costing. So again, let's mark these things in blue color. Why? Because we will come back to this and total this. Now, next, what do we do? The next cost, as I said, the demo is over. In the demo, I had done till this much, but obviously this is a regular class. So the next cost was material handling cost, 42,000. Now, after this, it becomes as usual. I mean, you just have to repeat, it's just the same thing. So 42,000. I'm going to remove the plates example. Okay, material handling cost was 42,000. And the driver is what? Number of batches. The question itself is saying number of batches. And the good thing, guys, is in the previous example, I had already calculated the number of batches for M1 and the number of batches for M2. And that's why I had not removed this part of the calculation so that you can easily check. The number of batches totally for M1 and M2 are 84. Right? The number of batches are 84. So how much will be the cost per batch? 42,000 divided by 84. Divided by 84, which is 500. Very good, Ishan. So Ishan, you're very fast, very good. I want others to beat that. So the cost is 500 per batch. And what will I do now? I will allocate it between M1 and M2 based on their usage. M1 is doing how many batches? M1 is doing 4 batches. And the cost per batch is 500. So 500 into 4 is how much? 2000. Guys, these calculations, I should not be waiting for your calculation. I want fast answers. And what about M2? M2 is doing how many batches? 80 batches. So how much will M2 pay? M2 will pay, very good, 40,000. Right? So as you can see, this cost of 42,000 has been split fairly between M1 and M2, not equally, but fairly based on their activity. And this is what is the implementation of activity-based costing. Again, these answers I'm going to highlight in blue because, as I said, we'll come back to this. Okay, and I'm going to remove this also now. Moving on to the third cost. What was the third cost? Special parts handling cost. Again, what is the special parts? Special parts handling cost is 50,000. And the driver is what? Number of special parts. So we need to go back to the information and know the number of special parts. Please understand that the special parts given here is per piece, per unit. We need to know the total number of special parts. So again, we will have to use some common sense and calculate it. M1 needs 2 special parts per unit and M1 is making 8,000 units. So M1 will need 16,000 special parts. Remember, M1 is doing 2 special parts per unit and M1 is making 8,000 special units. So 2 into 8,000. What about M2? As per the information, M2 needs 8 special parts per unit and makes 8,000 units. So 8 into 8,000 will be 64,000. Therefore, the total special parts will be 16,000 plus, I know the answer, but I just can't help it. I have to do the calculation. So the total special parts will be 100,000. Sorry, is it 100,000? No, it has to be 80,000. 16,000 plus 64,000, 80,000. Right? So the total special parts are 80,000. So again, what will I do? Special number of special parts. It was X, but now we know the answer. The number of special parts is 80,000. Therefore, the cost per special part or the cost per part will be how much? 50,000 is the cost for 80,000 special parts. So the cost per special part will be how much? Cost for each special part will be 0.625. I don't know if you people are sitting with your calculator, you are slower than me. Cost per part is 0.625, and now that I know it, I'll go back and implement it in M1 and M2. The cost per part is 0.625. Just like remember the cost per plate was 200. And then I went back and said, Alina ate 10 plates. So Alina will pay 10 into 2. Same way, M1 is using 16,000 parts. So M1 will pay for 16,000 parts and the cost per part is 0.62. So 16,000 into 0.62 is 10,000. So M1 will pay 10,000 and M2 is using 64,000 special parts and the cost per special part. Remember, after doing Alina, I went to 5 hours. 64,000 into 0.625 is 40,000. So again, as you can see, this cost of 50,000 has been split fairly between M1 and M2, where M1 is only paying 10,000 and M2 is paying 40,000 based on their usage or activity, right? So again, I'm going to mark this in blue because this information we will need in the future. M1 will pay 10,000, M2 will pay 40,000. Moving on further to invoicing. Invoicing is 31,000 and the driver is number of orders. Invoicing cost is 31,000 and the driver is number of orders. Again, in my example, I told you number of plates, but here number of plates is not given directly. So let it be X. Again, we go back to the information and see the number of orders. Number of sales orders are 60 for M1 and 250 for M2. So 250 plus 60 is how much? 310. So again, it is going to be what? 310. So the invoicing cost per order will be 31,000 divided by 310, which is divided by 310 is 100. Now that you know the cost per order, you know M1 has done how many orders? M1 has done 60 orders. And for each order, if the cost is 100, 60 into 100 is 6,000. And what about M2? M2 has done how many orders? M2 has done 250 orders. And if the cost per order is 100, 250 into 100 is 25,000. So as you can see, this cost of 31,000 has been split fairly between M1 and M2, where if M1 pays 6,000 and M2 pays 25,000, if you add that up, it becomes 31,000. It has been split fairly based on their activity, and that is what is activity based costing. Again, as I said, this piece of information I will mark in blue because this will be needed in the future. Moving on to the last one, other overheads. again divided by the direct labor hours. Again, the ones who've done MA will directly be able to do this, but even if you've not done MA, no problem. Other overheads are 108,000 cost. Thanks. Overhead will be 108,000 and the cost will be labor hours. Sorry, the driver is the labor hours. Again, do I know the labor hours? No, so let it be X. Let's go back to the information and try to calculate. Let's go back to the information and try to calculate the labor hours. How will I calculate the labor hours? Again, it's not very challenging, but again, think about it. M1 will take 2 hours per unit. And how many units is M1 making? 2 hours per unit, 2 hours per piece, and M1 makes 8,000 pieces. So 2 into 8,000 will be 16,000 hours. And what about M2? M2 takes 2.5 hours per piece and makes 8,000 units. So 2.5 into, very good guys, 2.5 into 8,000 is 20,000. So Ishan gave me the final answer of 36,000. Right? So the total hours 36,000. So I can input that here in X. So the cost per hour will be 108,000 divided by 36,000, which is 3. Right? Now I can implement that in M1. M1 takes 16,000 hours and the cost per hour is 3. So 16,000 into 3 is 48,000. And what about M2? 20,000 into 3 is 60,000. So again, as you can see, 60,000 plus 48,000 is 108,000. So again, that cost of 108,000 has been split fairly between M1 and M2 based on the activity or usage, and that is what is activity based costing. Right? So again, so guys, basically, if this is okay for you, ABC is done. Many people, many people, even working professionals struggle with ABC. I mean, I've handled many batches. Some batches, I've handled which are exclusively fail batches. What is fail batches? Fail batches is basically a batch where the students have written the exam before somewhere. They studied somewhere or they did self-study or they studied in some other institute and then they come to me. That is a fail batch. In many fail batches, many students say, oh, ABC is very difficult. But this is what ABC is all about. Right? So again, this information is very important. So everything in blue is what we need. Okay. So this information we have. Now, what I am going to tell you is this entire cost of 328,600, I have split it fairly between M1 and M2. Believe it or not. For example, you add up one by one. 1,600 plus 2,000 plus 10,000 plus. I have basically split it fairly between M1 and M2. But the overhead cost that M1 got was how much? Again, I'm going to put M1 in red now. 1,600. Just do the calculation while I mark. 1,600 plus 2,000 plus 10,000 plus 6,000 plus 48,000 How much is the overhead cost for M1? 67,000. Now let's do M2. M2 I'm going to put in which color? M2 will put in purple. 96,000 plus 40,000 plus 40,000 again plus 25,000 plus 60,000 is how much? 261,000. Now add up 67,600 plus 261,000. Two 61,600 plus 67,000. What is this? 67,600 for whatever reason. 61328,600. Right? So that is what we have done here. I have split the overheads between M1 and M2, but not equally. If it was equally, no, if you had not done this class, what you would do is 50-50. Half of it you will give to M1, half of it you will give to M2. But ABC tells you that this has been split. The overhead cost has been split fairly between M1 and M2. Okay. Now we can do the easy part. The difficult part is over. Now we can do the easy part. Easy part is what? M1. What are the costs of M1? Material cost is 11 per unit. See here. So basically, ABC part is done. We're just doing the remaining copy paste. Material is 11. Sorry, M1 material. Material is 11. What about labor? Labor itself says the rate is 8 per hour. It's like you will pay me 8 rupees per hour. And for each M1, I will spend 2 hours. So how much will labor cost per unit of M1? $8 you will pay me for 2 hours. So basically labor charge is 16. And the overhead cost that M1 got was 67,600. So 67,600 is the overhead cost for 8,000 units. So the cost per unit will be 67,600 divided by 8,000. How much is the cost, overhead cost that M1 will pay? Who can give me the answer first? 8.45. So the overhead cost would be 8.45. Therefore, the total cost for 1 unit of M1 will be 11 plus 16 plus 8.45, which is 35. So we know the total cost for 1 unit of M1. And we know what is the selling price of 1 unit of M1. The selling price is 54. Selling price is 54. Therefore, the profit per unit of M1 is 54 you are selling and the cost is 35.45. So from the selling price, you're getting 54, but the cost per unit is 35.45. So the profit per unit will be 54 minus 35.45, which is 18.55. So the profit per unit of M1 is 18.55. 0.55. The profit for each unit of M1 is 18.55. I've marked it. So our answer is absolutely right. Okay. What about M2? Can we look at M2? M2 is again, I'm putting the calculation in green and the final answer in red. M2, material per unit of M2 was how much? Who can read the question and tell me? Very good, 21. Labor cost will be, again, it is 8 per hour and each M2 takes 2.5 hours. So 8 into 2.5, 20. Overheads, how much were the overheads? Overheads were 261,000. So 261,000 for 8,000 units. So the overheads per unit will be 261 divided by 8,000. How much? The cost will be 32.625. Therefore, how much will be the total cost? Who can tell me first? $73.625. And how much is the selling price? Here, the selling price is only 73. Think about it. If the selling price is 73 per unit and the cost is 73.625, it is a loss per unit of 0.625. It's a loss. That's why I'm putting it in a bracket. Bracket means it's a loss. Can we check the answer? Is it right? See, loss of 0.625. That is all. And that marks the end of ABC. Now, whether you want to mug up the steps, it doesn't matter. Nobody in the exam will ask you to mention the steps. As long as you know the steps, you don't need to put them in words. Right? You know how to solve it. But again, for your sake, let me just give you steps. Simplify the step. Step one is to just look at the costs. That is the individual costs that have been, for example, it says group production overheads into activities. For example, all the setup costs have been grouped in one. So first, group them into one category. Then look at the drivers. What was the drivers? I told you, right? Again, for rent, the driver was number of square feet. For the bill that we ate in the restaurant lunch, the driver was number of plates. And in this question, for everything, we saw what is the driver. So second is identify the driver. Third step, calculate a rate per how do I word it? Calculate a rate, calculate the cost per unit of the driver. What do I mean by per unit of the driver? If the driver is number of plates, calculate the cost per plate. If the driver is number of setups, calculate the cost per setup. That is what we did, right? Then step 4, what did we do? Once we got the cost, again, once we get we get a cost driver rate. Okay, then after that, we just have to, again, step 4 was, I know the cost per plate is 200. The cost per plate was 200, but I have to absorb it. I have to say, okay, Alina will pay 200 into 10. Fayaz will pay 200 into 5. And finally get the total cost. Right? So I will put this as calculate the cost for that activity for each item. That is Alina this much, Fayaz this much, Khushi this much, and then after that calculate the full cost. Again, nobody will ask you to mug this up or mention this. So as long as you know how to do it, there will be no problem. That is all, and that marks the end of activity-based costing, right? You don't need to panic, you don't need to worry, you don't need to think, oh, what is going to happen, how will I do it, and so on. Right? So the first thing that we've done today is activity-based costing. The second thing that we're going to do is, again, in this chapter, ABC, we've looked at. One major thing that we will look at is when is ABC relevant? I mean, like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of ABC? Right? So, when is ABC more suitable? So, the answer to that is, think about it. Go here. When is ABC more suitable is when, again, sorry, I wanted to scroll down here. When the overheads or indirect costs are high, like in this example that I solved, in this example, the overheads costs were very high. And obviously, do you want to split them equally or fairly when you have such high costs? Can I just do 328,600 divided by 2? See, if it is 10 rupees, I don't mind. I'll just make M1 do pay 5 rupees, M2 do pay 5 rupees. But such a big amount, definitely we have to split it fairly. Right? So M1 is more relevant when these costs, these overhead costs are high. So M1, sorry, not M1, guys. ABC is more relevant when the overhead costs are high. Yes, Sohaib, that's right. So ABC is more relevant. ABC is more relevant when the overheads are high. And what you also need to is, if we are doing complex services, complex or we're making complex products, it will not be, oh, okay, material is 2 rupees, labor is 2 rupees. No, you will have a lot of overheads. You will have a lot of indirect costs that need to be fairly allocated and fairly distributed. So, when is ABC relevant? When the overheads are high and when the products, services delivered are complex. These are broadly the two main places where ABC is most relevant. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Of ABC? What is the advantage? Remember, I said ABC is more fair allocation of cost. So obviously, if the cost is allocated more fairly, cost will be more accurate. Right? Costs, if they are more fairly allocated, costs will be more accurate. What do I mean by that? Go back to that example where I was sharing a room where rent was 10,000, 4 people were there. Normal person will say, I have to pay 2,500. But ABC will tell, what will ABC tell? ABC will tell, I will pay based on my usage. And ABC told me what? 10,000 divided by, I was using only 100 square feet. The rent per square feet was how much? How much can anybody tell me? Yes, 100. So 100 into 10, I only paid 1,000 rupees. So according to ABC, I'll pay 1,000. So you see, this is more fair and therefore more accurate costing. So because ABC is more fair, the costs are more accurate. And because the costs are more accurate, we can get or we can do better pricing. See, in order to determine the price of a product, you need to know the cost. And only if you know an accurate cost, you will be able to do a better pricing, right? So that primarily is the most biggest advantage of activity-based costing. If the cost is more accurate, the cost is more reliable. If the cost is more reliable, we can, using that cost, get a better price or make a better price. What do I mean by make a better price? Imagine I sell hats. How much should I sell this hat for? Who can tell me? Komal, can you tell me how much should I sell this hat for? What should be the selling price? $100. But Komal tells me I should sell this hat for 100. But after doing ABC, activity-based costing, I know that that hat, the accurate cost of that hat is 200. So obviously, to sell it for 100 is not advisable. I mean, why would you sell something for 100 when the cost is 200? Komal, tell me now, how much would you sell the hat for? Exactly. So ABC leads to more accuracy, better understanding of costs, fair allocation of cost. Costs are properly under control. And as I said, is used in more complex situations where you have complex products and services. The cost by the number of people, it would have been so easy. For example, if I was doing normal costing, then this cost of 328,000, I'll just divide it by M1 and M2, which is two products. So M1 will get half, M2 will get half. End of story. I don't need to spend for 1 hour and 10 minutes to explain. But ABC took time because it is complex. And anything that is complex will take time. And anything that takes time will cost money, because obviously people will not work for free. If they are giving their time, they will charge money. Right? So that's why it says expensive. Right? So these are broadly the two disadvantages of ABC. The disadvantages are it is complex and it will take time. And if it takes time, it will cost money. It is expensive. So that marks the end of ABC. That's it. Now, believe it or not, you will be able to do any ABC questions. If you understood this, ABC, any questions you will be able to solve. Right? So basically, we looked at what is ABC, how to solve an ABC related question. Then we saw when is ABC relevant? Again, when you are using more complex products, when you are producing complex products or delivering complex services, right? And advantage is better costs, more accurate cost. More accurate cost means better pricing, better cost control, fair costs. Disadvantage, it is complex. If it is complex, it takes time. If it takes time, it is expensive. Right? So that is what ABC looks at. Now we're going to look at what is next. Okay, the next thing that we will look at in our class today is another costing type, another costing method. Okay, which is known as target costing. How many of you have heard of target costing? Has anybody heard of target costing? Alina has heard of target costing. Okay. What is target costing? Zohaib, you want to say what is target costing? I'll just give you a brief example of target costing before the break. And as we had planned, 6:55 to 7:05 is the break, right? But briefing of target costing, I'll do. What is target costing and how does it help? Imagine I sell pens. And if I sell pens, obviously I make pens. And when I make pens, is we have to make a product which should be competitive with others with low cost. Okay, so if that's right. But anyway, let me explain this in detail. I make pens, and obviously, will I be able to make a pen for free? I mean, randomly, I just wish that a pen comes in front of me, and that pen is there. Now it's for free, it's there. Pen, this is the pen. Will I be able to make a pen for free? Or will I be able to buy a pen for free? I make it for free. Like I get all the material for free, the labor was for free, ink I got for free. Is that possible? Everybody should respond. Komal, Zohaib. No. So obviously it will cost me something. So suppose it costed me 10 rupees to make this pen. Now again, I've used the dollar symbol. it costed me 10 to make this pen. Now, when I make the pen, do I want to sell it for 10? I make it for 10. I have made the pen for 10. Will I sell it to you for 10? No. I want money. I want profit. Right? So suppose I say I want profit of 5 rupees. So I will say that I will sell. Okay, so here 30% profit would be 3 rupees. So you're saying that you're selling for 13. Okay, I'm taking 50% profit. So I'm selling for $15. So the selling price is $15. This is what most people will do. Everybody, this is what they do. The cost plus we need a profit. So I will sell my pen, I will sell my bag, I will sell my mobile, whatever it is we are making, we will sell for so much. This is what most people do, right? Now I'm selling for 15. And Zohaib said he will charge a 30% profit. So this is my pens in my shop. Each pen is sold for 15. Zohaib is my competitor. He has his cost of 10. His profit is, he said he will take a 30% profit. So 3. So his selling price is 15. So where will people go and buy the pen from? From whose shop will people buy? You will, suppose it's the same pen, where will you go and buy the pen from? Yes, right. So Zohaib, there is a selling price of 13. So where will people go and buy the pen from? Imagine there are 2 shops, Shah's shop and Zohaib shop. Zohaib, right? Now, what you people do is you are very, very smart. Before you make the pen, everybody else, okay? Before you make the pen, you are looking at how much competitors are charging. I mean, I am charging 15, right? Zohaib is charging 13. So you're looking at how much are competitors charging. So I'm charging 15, Zohaib is charging 13. So what you people will do is you people will say, I will sell for less than Shaz and less than Zohaib. You people will say my selling price will be 12. So what are you doing? You are using a very smart strategy. You are saying you have not made your pen. You haven't made your pen yet. But you are looking at how much competitors are charging. I am charging 15. You will say, I will charge less than that. Zohaib is charging 13. You will say, I will charge less than that. And you set your selling price first. So you see what is happening? Normally, people will set the cost first or determine the cost first. That is what I also did. That is what Zohaib also did. But what are you doing first? You are first setting the selling price. So it's the opposite. And then you're saying, I want the same profits as Shah's. I want high profit. So you're saying, okay, I'll sell for 12, but I also want a profit of 5. So what do? You say profit will be 7. Now again, you have not made the pen yet. You're just saying for each pen, I want a profit of 7. So now think about it. You're saying I will sell each pen for 12 when you're saying you want a sorry, not 7. You're saying you want a profit of 5. So if you're selling the pen for 12, and in that, if you want $5 as profit, how much will the cost be? Again, remember, you have not made your pen yet. You're just saying that I will sell for 12 and each pen should get me a profit of 5. Meaning that this pen that you are trying to make, you are trying to make that pen, you are targeting to make that pen in 7 rupees. Right? So you are saying my cost, which is my target, I don't want to make the pen for more than 7 rupees. So the cost, my targeted cost is not more than 7 rupees. So what are you doing? Normally, everybody will first calculate the cost. See, that is what I did. That is what Zohaib did. Then we are adding the profit. That is what I did. That is what Zohaib did. And finally, we get the selling price and we say, I will sell for 15. And Zohaib says, I will sell for 13. But what did you people do? You first decided how much you will sell the item for. After doing that, you tried to determine how much will be your profit in that. You said, I also want a profit of 5. So that was the second step. And finally, you say, okay, if I want to sell something for 12, and in that, if I want a profit of 5, I have to target to make this pen in 7 rupees. So you are, what are you doing? You are targeting a cost of just 7. And you are in a win-win situation because now tell me, shop 1, shop 2, shop 3. Where will customers go? Where is the selling price the lowest? Where will customers go? Which shop? 1, 2, or 3? So again, you see, everybody has to type. You see what is happening? Where will customers go? Customers are going to shop 3. So more and more volumes will come to shop 3. More people are buying from shop 3. Why? Because the selling price is the cheapest. And shop 3, another plus point is we are getting the same profit as everybody else. So shop 3 is again happy. More customers are also coming and more profit per customer. Why? Because they are targeting to make the same pen in 7 rupees. And that is 6:55 p.m. Right? Once we come back from the break at 7:05, we will continue on this and I'll tell you what is target cost. Okay, you need not leave the meeting, just stay in the meeting. We'll continue sharp from 7:05. Yes, guys. Welcome back. It is 7:05 p.m. Sharp 6:55 to 7:05 was our break. Just let me know that you are back by messaging in the chat. Everybody, very good. Now, what is it that we were looking at? Come back to the concept, right? Come back to the screen. You see, again, this shop one, first we determined the cost, we got the profit, we said, okay, this much profit we want, and we therefore, and then only got the price, selling price. Shop 2 did the same thing, Shop 2 followed the same logic. We first tried to understand what our cost is. So they first made, after producing, they incurred a cost and they added up the cost and understood how much the cost is. And after getting the cost, they said, I need so much profit, and finally determined the selling price. But what is shop 3 doing? Shop 3 is very smart. They are saying, okay, my selling price has to be less than shop 1 and shop 2. So what is shop 3 saying? Shop 3 is saying, okay, shop 1 is charging 15 rupees for a pen. Shop 2 is charging 13 rupees for a pen. So immediately shop 3, what he's saying is, I will charge only 12. So the first thing he is doing is deciding his price that is better than his competitors. Because he is deciding his price that is better than his competitors, more people will come and buy from him. And after he decides his price, he determines how much is his profit. Sorry, doesn't determine, but he decides, okay, in this 12, 5 rupees I want to keep as profit. And then what is left is his cost. So he targets to make that pen in that remaining 7. And that is why the name is target costing. So again, if I have to write this in words, in target costing, what you do is normally you make the product. First step, you make your product. It costs you money. And you calculate how much did it cost you. Right? So suppose it costed you 20. For example, suppose it costed you 20. What will you do after that? Now you have your product ready. You will say, in this, I will when I sell, I want to make profit. So obviously, I will sell for more than 20. So you decide that you want a profit of 5. So you've determined your profit. So if the cost is 20 and you want a profit of 5, you now decide that based on the above information, you will sell this item for 25. This is what normally everybody does. But what does somebody who has done PM do? What he can possibly do is target costing people. What they do is they first decide on a selling price. This is generally very competitive. What do I mean by selling price is competitive? They decide on a selling price that is lower than other competitors. Right? Once that happens, so again, they have not made the product yet. They've just decided the price, okay, I will sell it for less than competitors. Suppose again, competitor is selling for 20. So I decide to sell it for 80. The second thing you do is smartly you say, okay, in this $18, I want profits. And you say, I want profits of 15. So what happens? Sorry, not 15, 5. I want profits of 5. So obviously think about it. If 18 rupees we are selling the item for and profit is 5 in that, they now say in order to achieve this, we have to target to make the product in 18 minus 5, 13 rupees. And that is the cost which we are targeting to make the product in. And that is what is the target cost. Everybody clear with what target costing is concept wise? Type it in the chat box. Fast. I want everybody to be responsive. Everyone, 5 people have responded. What about the other 4? So yes, I hope this is clear now. This is a very basic and simple concept. And now we will look at a sum. Okay. Again, a company wants to start selling a new calculator. They have decided to sell the calculator for $50. And they want a profit margin of 20%. They want 20%. What is the targeted cost? So think about it. Again, very good, Zohaib. That's absolutely right. But again, for everybody, let me just do it. Selling price is 15. And they want a profit of 20%. Profit of 20% on the selling price. Again, I will explain in more detail in another class, margin and markup. But they want a profit of 20% from the selling price. 20% of 50 is 10. So in that 50 rupees, they want 10 rupees as profit. And therefore the cost, the targeted cost is, think about it. They will sell the calculator for 50. They want a profit of 10. So obviously the cost in which they should make this calculator is 40. Okay, so the answer, the target cost is 40. I hope this question was clear. Right? Now, honestly, it doesn't get more harder than this in the exam. It is very simple. It's just that people don't understand. Now that we have understood what is target cost, let's look at what is target cost gap. What is target cost gap? Again, our targeted cost was 40. We want to make the pen in, sorry, the calculator in 40 rupees. Now we start making the calculator. And we get to know, yes, the targeted cost is 40, but we realize that if we make this calculator, the actual cost will be 44. See, our targeted cost is 50, but the actual cost is 44. It's like your targeted weight, your your targeted weight is 65, but your actual weight is 72. So there is a gap of how much between your target and actual? There is a gap of 7 kilos. Yes. So what will you do? Will you just sit simply saying, oh, there is a gap of 7 kilos? No. You will try to understand and try to close this gap. You will try to do things to minimize this gap. Correct? Here, going back to the previous example, your targeted cost is 40, but your actual cost is 4 rupees higher. So there is a gap between the target cost and actual cost. This gap is known as target cost gap. There is a target cost gap of 4 rupees. Okay. Again, going back to the weight example, if there is a gap, again, your actual weight is 72 and your targeted weight is 65, what will you do? You will sit and you will look at ways to close this gap. Let's make this a little interactive. What will you do, guys, to close this gap in the weight? What are all the things you can do? Ajit says workout, Adina says diet plans. So you will look at ways to close the gap. She says diet. You will look at ways to close this gap. So Zohaib has gone a little more in detail. Calorie deficit diet, right? You will look at ways to close the gap, and that's exactly what you will do here in target cost gap as well. There is a gap of $4. What you will do is, this pen is there. Let me just show you my screen. Give me 1 second. So this is the pen, okay? That here we are trying to make this pen. So this is the pen. Again, the targeted cost was how much did I say? 40. And actual cost is 44. So your target is 40. I'm putting it in green, meaning that is what you want to get to. But the actual cost is 44. So again, you will look at ways to close the gap. You will sit, you'll call for a meeting. All your staff will be there, your entire team will be there. You are in a nice conference room and you're talking about how to close this gap. So one person will say, instead of, you know, instead of using this shiny material, this part, instead of using this shiny part, I have a same quality part, but not shiny. That will help me save 2 rupees. Another person says, this thing is there, no? This thing, whatever you call it, this thing which I'm marking in red. It's so long. Maybe we can cut a little bit of it and nobody will notice anyway. Right? If I cut a little bit, nobody will notice. Customers will not notice. Small part if I cut, nobody will notice, but that much part will not have to pay. So maybe I'll save 1 rupee there. Another person will say, exact same white material we can get from another country for little cheaper, right? Another person will say, instead of having this zigzag thing, maybe we can just use a plain design there. And nobody cares, no? Who cares about that design? So obviously at the end of this meeting, we will say, okay, we've saved 2 rupees, 1 rupee, and then 0.5. So now we have met our target. That is why this type of costing is known as target. Target is what something that you have to work towards achieving. Right? So the benefit of target costing is what? You are not sitting and making the pen, and then whatever the cost is there, you are just incurring the cost, and then you're saying, oh, 44. No. You are looking at making the same thing at a targeted cost that is acceptable to the business. So this is a very smart thing to do, right? It's like this. Again, in this example may not be directly relevant, but I just want to know how target costing helps. Suppose you have unlimited money. You want to go home from office or college, wherever. Unlimited money, how will you go home? How will you go home if you have unlimited money? Zohaib, Zohaib will go by helicopter. Very good. Khushi, Zohaib is going by helicopter, you are taking a cab. Okay, so Zohaib is going by a helicopter. Alina Shaufer. Okay, very good. But suppose I tell you you have only 250 rupees. Then how will you go? Will you sleep in the office then? No, you will still go home. But in that case, you will take a cab. Suppose I tell you there are only 100 rupees you have. Then also you will not sleep in the office. Maybe then you will take the metro. If I tell you 50 rupees are there, then maybe you will take the bus. Right? So what I'm trying to tell you is when there is a limit, okay, this is the target, you will not spend more than that. See, with unlimited money, people were taking the helicopter. They were not looking at alternative ways that are cheaper. And that is what happens in business also. When you just sit and make a pen and there is no target, why will anybody look at reducing the cost? There's no target, no? Just make the pen, go get the material, get the labor, get the items, and make the pen. No need to control the cost. But as you see, if there is only 50 rupees that you have, when there is a target, you will look at other ways of doing the same thing, going home. Same way, when there is a target cost, you are looking at other ways of doing the same pen, making the same pen. Maybe you will remove something that does not add value to the customer, something that the customer will not notice, something that is not necessary at all. Maybe look at better suppliers who charge lesser, right? So target costing gives you reason to look at cheaper ways of doing the same thing. You a reason to look at more affordable ways of doing the same thing, right? And that is what is target costing talking about. Okay, and that is it. That is what target costing is, and that is what is target cost gap. Target cost gap is basically the difference between the actual cost and the targeted cost. So what is target cost gap? This is the difference between the actual cost and the targeted cost. And you have to lower the target cost gap to achieve the target, to achieve the targeted cost. And that is why the name is target costing. So again, the benefit is what? The benefit of target costing are many. First, your selling price is better than competitors, or it's a price that is acceptable to customers because you decided the price depending on that. Second, you are still ensuring that you don't compromise on the profit. Third is what? You look at ways. Target costing gives you a reason, or incentive to lower costs, and any business would be very happy to look at how to lower cost without compromising quality, right? And that is target costing. Where did it go? Yeah. Generally, it's supposed to be in, once I finish the topic, needs to be in green. But today, for whatever reason, everything is in green, right? Guys, I hope this is easy and simple. Again, the reason I'm not opening the textbook yet is because, again, people are very scared of PM. They come and tell me, oh, it's very difficult. PM, very low pass rate. They tell me, they don't ask, they tell me it is very low pass rate. Yes, it is low pass rate, but that's because people don't understand the concept. Once you've understood the concept, it's very easy, it's very simple, it's a very fast paper, right? So that is all with target costing. Now I'm going to talk to you about features of, well, in exam it gets tricky also because you haven't properly understood either the concepts, or you haven't properly understood what the examiner is expecting from you, and you don't perform well because, again, you are not answering as per what the examiner wants to hear. What do I mean by that? Is the examiner wants to look at certain points. You have to look at examiners' reports. They talk about it in a lot more detail. But you need to know what they want to hear, right? You need to know what are the points to use. And if you know that, that is it. That's all. And it doesn't get tricky as such. It's just that these are the concepts. But these concepts need to be applied to a real scenario and a real situation. See, ACCA, it is a professional accounting qualification, right? And we are making you ready for your professional life, right? So nobody in the exam, that's why I said nobody will ask you to in ABC, nobody will ask you to sit and tell, like school or college, what are the 5 steps of ABC? Nobody will ask you that. Why? Is because they want to see if you can apply the knowledge that you have into a real scenario, into a real world case. And that is why they give you questions like that. The questions are very, you have to apply your knowledge. It's not like it's not memory based. What you know, what you understand, you need to be able to apply it. And many people, either they don't understand the concept itself, or if they understand the concept, they don't know how to apply it, right, to the question. So, understanding the concept is one part, which you are, I hope, in the class. But after that, and apart from that, you also have to ensure that you know how to apply that into an exam question, because an exam question is a real life scenario. The exam tries its best to do that. Sure, Alina, I'll do that. But part one is ensuring that you understand the concepts. Again, you attend the classes for that. And part two is doing exam standard questions, which again, if you do it, you'll realize it's not very tricky. You'll manage, right? So exam standard questions, yes, you can. Now people ask me, should I stop doing a Kaplan kit and BPP kit? Should I only look at study hub? Do the study hub practice questions, yes. But Kaplan BPP kit also do, right? Again, I normally what I do is I teach, and because of the shortage of time, we also record content where we are solving kit questions and we upload them. So at your convenience, simultaneously along with class, you can also watch those recordings to ensure that you are also getting exam kit practice simultaneously with class. You don't have to wait till the syllabus is over. And with that kind of practice, I'm sure that the exam will go great. As I said, we've had people who, in most cases, go target costing. Here, this one, Alina. So yes, we will upload on YouTube at some point, but as of now, immediately tomorrow it will be on the NFS. Now I'm going to look at features of a service industry. What are the features of a service industry? And in the next class, next week, that tomorrow we will have one class. But again, today I don't want to open the textbook and scare you. Once the topics are done, you will realize that, oh, the textbook isn't something that you should be scared of. But today and tomorrow, I'll just cover the simpler topics. How to access the LMS, it's been mentioned in the group. You have to click on a link that will be shared to you. In fact, it has already been shared, but if you've missed it, we will share it again. Click on that, go to that website, which is basically our website, lms.finchartedacademy.com, and then you have to enter some details. So again, those details we will share. Our LMS, Ajit, Finchartered Academy LMS. So the recordings are there on that. We will share. Okay. So features of a service industry, and I would try to add my best as much as humor as possible to this topic, because again, this is a very boring, again, there's not much calculation. Until ABC, it was all calculating. Everybody was alert because you were doing calculations. But the minute theory starts, laziness kicks in. So again, please listen very carefully. Features of a service industry, I try to explain as, with the acronym WIPNI. Again, you don't need to by heart WIPNI. It's just my acronym. But I remember the features of a service industry with the acronym WIPNI. where each letter stands for one feature. Features of a service industry. Now, V stands for what? Think about it. In a manufacturing industry, manufacturing means what? You make something and sell. Okay. And in a service industry, you give some service basically. I mean, I would hate to say service industries where you give some service, but I mean, it cannot get easier than that. For example, what I'm doing now is service. I'm not making something and selling to you. It's just like I'm doing something for you, right? So when you go to a barber or a beauty parlor for a haircut, do you think it's manufacturing or do you think it's a service? Everybody? Service. Okay. Now, I'll just give you this example. Let me show you on screen. Just taking three pictures of just to show you something. Okay. Now, guys, listen very, 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 very carefully. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. But suppose we've manufactured sofas. Okay. We manufacture sofas. And this is the sofa that we made. I think the sofa in cream color, like a little lighter color, or in white, beige will look very nice. Yeah, this color is okay, but I think creamy, little bit lighter will look very, very nice. So this sofa is there, okay, and we've made this sofa. How many of you want this sofa? Okay, from my side, Ajit wants this sofa. Chaturthi wants this sofa. Sandesh wants this sofa. Okay, Alina does not want the sofa. Okay, Zoheb wants it. Okay, so now the thing is, Zoheb, Komal also wants it. So you see, Zoheb wants it. Komal also wants it. The color, that's what I said. The color is too bright. That's why I said if it was a little lighter, like a creamy color, a little bit light, it would have looked very nice. So, Zoheb and Komal, right? If Zoheb comes and places order for this sofa, Zoheb will also get the same sofa. Komal will also get the same exact sofa. Ishan will also get the same exact sofa. Exact ditto same sofa they will get. Same. There's no difference. There's nothing that will vary. It will be the same sofa. Right? Pushpa's sofa? What is Pushpa's sofa? Oh, okay. Yeah. So everybody will get the same sofa, right? So when you come and ask for Pushpa sofa, everyone will get the same thing. But in a service business, suppose you go, I'm a barber. and two customers come and ask me for the same service. Both of them ask me for a haircut. Still, there will be a difference. What will be the difference? This is the first customer. This one is the first customer. She has also asked for a haircut. Same service they are buying from me. Both are buying haircut. This girl is also taking haircut, and this guy is also taking haircut. You see, when it comes to service, even if you are giving the same service, there will still be some variability. There will still be some difference. Even though to this girl and to this guy, we're giving the same service, there will still be difference in what we give. And that is the first feature of a service industry, which is variability. That is, the service given will definitely vary based on probably the customer. For example, haircut example given. Then comes what? Let me ask you this. Has this ever happened? See, for example, there is a sofa. This is the sofa. Does it happen, guys, that the person is making the sofa? Okay, the person is making the sofa. And while the person is making the sofa, you are sleeping on it. Does that happen? Yes or no? The shop, in the factory, the sofa they are making, and you are sitting and using the sofa and sleeping on that sofa. Does that happen? Yes or no? Or they are making, like Tetra Pak juice or a Tetra Pak coffee. While they are making the coffee, you are putting a straw in that and drinking it. Does that happen? No, right? Does not happen. First, in manufacturing, first they make it, they manufacture it, and then you use it. But in service industry, most of the time, what happens is this. Has it ever happened that you first go to the barber? Okay. Has it ever happened? This is the barber shop. You go to the barber and you say one haircut. So the first thing is the barber will cut your hair. He will be cutting. Then after 30 minutes, first the barber is cutting your hair. So first, barber will cut your hair. Then next day, so he cuts your hair, he finishes. Next day, your hair will go. Does that happen? First he will cut, today he will cut. Tomorrow your hair will be gone. You will get the new haircut. Does that happen? No, right? So that is the thing with the service industry. It's not like first they will make, first they will do, then you will get it. It happens simultaneously. It happens inseparably. Meaning the service giving and taking happens simultaneously. It's not separable. In manufacturing, first you will make, first the manufacturing will happen, and then you will use. But in service, giving and taking happens simultaneously. Right? So that is what is inseparability. The giving of the service and taking of the service happens simultaneously. They are not separable. They cannot be separated. Right? So that is the second feature, which is inseparability. Inseparability. Then after that, P. What do I mean by P? Suppose the barber is cutting your hair. Okay. And he gets a call and he moves back. He steps back. Sometimes it happens, no? You go to this barber shop and the barber will get a call. Sometimes he'll be on the call itself while cutting the hair. But suppose you are, just imagine yourself in the barber shop. We all will go to a barber shop for the next 2 minutes. Imagine yourself in the barber shop. You are getting a haircut, or I don't know, whatever you want. You want a facial, you want whatever you want. You are getting your service, and he gets a call. So he steps away. Will you still continuously be getting the haircut? If the barber steps away, will you get the haircut? No, it will stop. It will cease to exist. For example, after this class, where will, I mean, it will not be, it's like once I stop, for example, I stop now. For 5 minutes, I don't teach anything. Pin drop silence. The minute the service provider stops, the service perishes, the service ends. But in case of manufacturing, once we make the sofa and I stop, see, I made the sofa, this is the sofa. Once I made the sofa and I stop, that sofa will still be there, it will not perish. So I get some interesting questions from students. They say, sir, so if you manufacture a chocolate, okay, you manufacture a chocolate, say, I'm just putting the chocolate's name as DM because I have a chocolate in mind, right? So say you manufactured this chocolate. They ask me, sir, here you have manufactured this chocolate, but if I eat it, it will go, no? No, see, I'm not worried about whether you eat it, give it to somebody. I'm not worried about that. The minute I stop making it, chocolate will still be there. Now, whether you eat it or not, I don't know. But when I stop, it's there. It will not disappear. But in service, when I stop, the service stops. So the service perishes. Right? So that is what is the feature of a service industry. So perishability. Perishability, meaning that when the service provider stops providing the service ceases, the service perishes. Unlike in manufacturing, if I manufacture a fan, when I stop, the fan is still there. It will not disappear into thin air. So variability, inseparability, perishability. And now going back to that same sofa example, Komal bought the sofa. So Komal, when you buy the sofa from me, who is the owner of the sofa? Komal bought the sofa from me. Who is the owner of the sofa? Everybody has, remember, fastest fingers first. You know, in KBC, you have to go and sit on the hot seat. You need to, right? So fastest fingers first. Everybody should type fast, right? So Komal becomes the owner, but In manufacturing, again, there is a transfer of ownership, but in service, for example, right now I'm giving you a service. Say if I sell to you a sofa, you become the owner of the sofa. But when I give you a service, right, like right now, I'm teaching you, I'm giving you a service. Are you becoming the owner of the class? Are you becoming the owner of anything? No. Imagine you go to the barber shop, you get a nice facial. Are you becoming the owner of something? No. You just get so there's no transfer of ownership, and that's another feature of service industry. No transfer of ownership. But in manufacturing, when I make and give something to you, you become the owner of it. Finally, comes again, go back to the sofa, Chaturthi. This is the sofa that you have. This is manufactured. Guys, do you think you can touch the sofa once I make it and it is there? Can you touch the sofa? Komal, Krishna, Sandesh, I want everybody to say, can you touch the sofa? It is tangible. But imagine in case of service, a service is intangible. You cannot touch the service. Now, again, please don't give me funny responses. In one of the classes, I said, service is intangible. One boy said, sir, but I can touch the barber. We're not talking about touching the barber. I'm talking about you cannot touch the service. The service is intangible. Are you understanding? We have no doubts about being able to touch the barber. What we're saying is the service is intangible. Here also, when I teach you, you cannot touch the teaching. I don't know, maybe you can be touched by the teaching. That's a different thing. But you cannot touch the teaching, right? So intangibility. Intangibility means services, you cannot touch them. They do not have a physical form, right? And that is what Vipni is: variability, inseparability, perishability, Vipni, no transfer of ownership, and intangibility. Vipni. Okay, these are the features of a service industry. Okay, I hope everybody is clear with what we've done so far and everything is easy and comfortable to all, right? The next thing that we're going to do, again, as I said, guys, we will look at the textbook. I will open the Kaplan textbook next week, but until tomorrow, until such time that we are comfortable with PM, we will just go with what? We will just go with doing these things uh, without looking much at the textbook. Okay. Now, today I will introduce to you something known as key factor analysis. How many of you are doing PM for the second time? I know you wrote it before, you failed, or you. Yes, okay. You remember key factor analysis? No? You remember throughput? Zohaib, you remember throughput? You know what throughput is? bottleneck and all that we will be learning about. Yes. So, Zohaib, how was your journey with bottleneck, constraints, limiting factor analysis? Was it good? You just did last 3, 4 chapters and gave your exam. Okay. Obviously, so I mean, if you miss chapters, then obviously the chances of failing are very, sorry, chances of passing are very, very high. Sorry, very low. We need to make sure, guys, that whatever we're doing, we are clear on it, and like we are comfortable with what we're doing. Anyway, I think for today, I'll just recap on do a certain topics on accounting in general and about the environment a little bit, because throughput, key factor analysis, all of this needs some basic efforts. Basic efforts as in you need to understand what you need. I wouldn't want to do it in the last 30 minutes basically, and but again that reminds me, last 30 minutes, not even last 20 minutes, I wanted to know your thoughts, because again we've been attending, we started at 5:30, it's 8 p.m. Indian time, so 6:30, 7:30, 2.5 hours are over. And generally I ask this in all the batches, all the 5 batches that I'm taking. So generally, like after 1.5, 2 hours, 1.5 to 2 hours. I mean, in a class, people can sit for 45 minutes. In school, college, at least it's 45 minutes. And sometimes you do 1 hour, 1.5 hours. So I wanted to know from you people, how is it so far? You're sitting for 2.5 hours. So far, how is it for you? Like, does it, I mean, obviously, after some time, you lose your attention and you just want the class to end. All right. So far, how is your experience? When did you lose your interest and attention? After how long? Or is it okay? You're still like, you're able to hold on. You are hooked. Because obviously this is not like, as I said, a Netflix series, which you can, sit and watch for 3 hours non-stop. It's good. All of you have the attention. You're not getting distracted. You're not getting like, oh, another 30 minutes. No problems at all. Great. So Zohib says good. Alina feels it's good. You have your full attention. Okay. So basically, I'm speaking to already ACCA preparing students. So probably now you're used to it. But sometimes when I start fresh batches, they are very, after some time, they don't know. Okay. So anyway, now what we will look at is, I feel again, I will just touch base on key factor analysis. In with key factor analysis, I will explain to you what is throughput, because once you've understood key factor analysis, throughput is very easy. Once you understand it's 8 o'clock, throughput is very, very basic. And what is key factor analysis? Okay, what I'm going to do is this. I have a certain video that I had made on key factor analysis, which I want to kind of show you. Okay, so just give me 1 minute. We first looked at the example. How many of you were able to hear this when I was playing it? Okay, I'll play it again. Let me know if you're able to. Introducing key factor analysis. Now we move to looking at what the problem is from the question. Right? Guys, let me keep your textbook and the book. What about others? Can you hear it? Yeah, so basically, this is a short video I made on key factor analysis. And again, I have used some examples and analogies to explain key factor analysis. And one in a certain batch, when I taught this key factor analysis, it kind of helped when I showed this example, it kind of helped a very big audience. Alina, you're not able to hear. Can you hear me talk now? Side by side. You have only 7,800 hours, but you need. Was everybody able to hear you have only 7,800 hours? You have only 7,800 hours. Alina, you were able to hear that? Alina, you said no, so that's why I'm asking Alina specifically. Were you able to hear that part? Can you hear me now while I speak? Yes. But if I'm playing this, 9,800 hours. So this is the problem, guys. Right? So the first aspect to my explanation of key factor, right? Guys, just give me fine. Each hour takes 2,000 hours. Okay, let me take the hours. Takes 2,000 hours. Yes. Now, guys, Alina, you were able to hear it now. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this. Okay. And this is again, just let's look at this. A very good afternoon, guys. So today we are going to look at, you have 4 chapters to start. The three topics are key factor analysis, qualities of good information, and completion and review. So we're going to start with key factor analysis. And before moving to the text, let me tell you a story. I'm sorry, but this story is a little sad. You have a test, okay? And you have, say for example, 4 chapters to study, right? You have a test, you have 4 chapters to study, and suppose I tell you, you have sufficient time. My question to you is, how many chapters will you study? In this small story, how many chapters are you going to study? Guys, I want everybody to respond to that. In this story, if you have a test and you have unlimited time, I want everybody to respond and say, how many chapters will you study for this test? Everybody fast. Some people are not responding. Chaturthi, Khushi. Quickly, everyone. How many chapters? Very good. I hope all of you say all 4 chapters. Right? But let me change this story a bit. Again, you have a test. You have 4 chapters to study, but time is limited. Say you can only study 2 or 3 chapters max. You don't have time to finish all the 4 chapters. What do you do in such a situation? What do you do in a situation where there is a limited resource? In this example, time is limited. And your limited resource cannot cover every. Very good, Alina. So Alina says that she will study the key areas. Is that what you're saying, Alina? Important questions. Yes, that's right. So hey, yes, you'll study the weighted chapters. Everything you have to do. In this case, 4 chapters to study. What do you do in such a circumstance? And I'm sure such circumstances come to you on a day-to-day basis. Yes? What do you do? How do you make best use of your limited resource, which is in this example time? Now, as a savior to these kind of problems comes key factor analysis, where you have a limited resource, right? And you're supposed to make the best use of your limited resource, right? So key factor analysis is used in a situation where you have a limited resource and you're trying to make the best use of it. Let me now, if you've understood this, explain this to you better with the help of an example in your textbook. But I hope it's clear that in this example that I gave, time was limited and you could not study all the 4 chapters. So in such a circumstance, what do you do? Maybe some of you might say, I will prioritize the chapters with more weightage, right? And you'll try to make the best use of your time. And this is what we're going to look at right now, right? So I'm going to take this off and we're going to look at a question to help you understand key factor analysis better. Right? So look at example 8, where there's a company, you make PQR. All of this information is in front of you. Contribution per unit is 210 for P, 72 for Q, and 46 for R. And you know, the demand for P is 200, Q is 600, R is 1000. Right? Before I solve this for you, I'll try to explain to you what the problem is. Right? So in key factor analysis, we first looked at the example introducing key factor analysis. Now we move to looking at what the problem is from the question. Right? Guys, let me keep your textbook and the board side by side. Right. So you have 3 products, P, Q, and R, and obviously you would want to make all of them, right? So the demand for P is how much? 200 units. So you would want to make all 200. The demand for Q is how much? Again, 600. You want to make all 600. Okay, fine. And the demand for R is how much? 1000. So you want to make all 1000 units, right? No problem at all. Now, how much time, because time may be a limited resource, I'll come to that later, but how much time does each P, Q, and R take to make? It's not given directly, you can look, but you can find that out. How? Look at P, labor. How much did you pay for 1 P? How much have you paid for 1 P? 300. Yes. And at what rate did you pay? You paid at 20 for 1 hour per hour. So obviously, if you paid at a rate of 20 for each hour, and totally you have paid 300, how many hours did it take? 300 divided by 20, which is 15 hours. Again, guys, it's simple math. So each P, 1 P takes 15 hours. Let's look at how much time does 1 Q take. Again, you paid $160, right? And the rate of paying is $20 per hour. So if you paid $20 for 1 hour and totally you've paid $160, how many hours did they work for? 8. So it's 160 is how much you totally paid. Very good, Sandesh. You paid at a rate of $20 per hour. Therefore, 1 Q takes 8 hours. And similarly, 1 hour takes, I want you to do this, guys. I'm just putting the number there, but I would want in this situation for you to do the calculation yourself. So the last point I'm not explaining anything. I want to leave it to you. But 1 hour takes 2 hours. So guys, here how much time is required is clear. Let's put this over here. This we're going to put here to know how much time is needed in total. 1P takes 15 hours and we are making 200 Ps. If 1P takes 15 hours, then guys, again, I don't want to open my calculator. It's basic calculation. 200 into 15. Yes? 3,000. That's how I got it. 3,000 hours you need to spend to make all 200 Ps. Similarly, 1Q, we know from here, takes 8 hours. And obviously, if you're making 600 Qs, each Q takes 8 hours, then you're spending 4,800 hours making Qs. And 1 hour makes, sorry, yes, 1 hour takes 2 hours, and you're making 1,000 hours. So to make all 1,000 hours, how much time is required? You need 2,000 hours. So in total, time required will be 3,000 hours for P, 4,800 hours for Q, and 2,000 hours for R, which is 3 plus 7, 8 plus 2 is 9,800 hours. That's the total time that is required. Required, putting it in bold. Your question is telling you the total time that you have. It's telling you clearly that the time is only, the total time that you have is 7,800 hours. Yes. So guys, now can you see the problem? Do you see the problem? You have only 7,800 hours, but you need 9,800 hours. So this is the problem, guys. Right? So this is, and second is the problem, that is looking at what is the problem from the question. So I hope you understand now that we cannot make all P's, all Q's, and all R's, because if you would want to make all P's, all Q's, all R's, you need 9,800 hours, but you have only 7,800 hours. And therefore, that brings me to the third part of this question, of this topic rather, and that's to yes, guys, excuse me. Again, because we start dot on time, unfortunately, we also have to end on time, again, for your overall happiness and satisfaction, because extending classes would mean some people would have commitments where they are available at so and so time, and I wouldn't want to extend beyond the scheduled time. So that's why I don't start earlier and I don't go beyond, and I don't end earlier also. And our break also is exactly that time, 10 minutes, so that okay, 6:55 to 7:05 Indian time, I have a break. Every day that will be the break time. So you can plan whatever you want. So basically, we want to make sure that We are very time careful, right? But we've looked at a brief introduction in brief on key factor analysis. Again, we haven't done it. Tomorrow we will complete key factor analysis and what it is. But that is what we have seen today, right? So I want normally again at the last 10 minutes, students are expected to rate their understanding on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 means you did not understand anything. Very poor, didn't understand anything. 5 means excellent, understood everything. 4.9 means, something you didn't understand, you missed something, those kind of things. And you can give me your overall in typing, like what you feel. You can write it in words. How is your overall feedback, what it is and stuff. In writing also, whatever, because it's the first class, you can voice out your opinion, your experience, everything. Because this time is basically used for you to give me your rating out of 5. And if anybody is less than 5, say 4.9, this is like a review time. Remember, this is what I said. 8:20 to 8:30 will be, you know, would be like a 5, sir, first time, but amazing webinar. I didn't get you in. Like, uh, you were talking about first time. The demo was 5. Now it's not 5. Why didn't I understand? Oh, okay. Okay, okay. Understood. Fine. So again, make sure, guys, you're all here on time tomorrow. Yeah. So make sure we start at what Indian time 5:30. So sharp 5:30, the recording will start. Okay. So we are very time particular. 3 out of 5, Krishna. Krishna, how can I help you? You say you are 3 out of 5. Where, which topic? Again, the topics are in front of you here. These 7 things is what we looked at today. So may I know, like, where can I help you? What is it? You didn't understand something? What was the problem? Key factor analysis, which part did you not understand? Again, we're talking about what is completed, not what is left. What is left, we will do tomorrow. From what was explained in today's class, which part specifically in key factor analysis you didn't understand? Specifically, there were two things we looked at today in key factors. One, why do we do it? What is the problem? There is a shortage of a resource. A specific resource is limited. Right? So we just looked at two things. We just basically looked at why we are doing key factors. So there is a shortage of time. But which part of it you didn't understand? Because I'm asking, because again, this is how our classes are structured. If somebody gives less than 5, we try to ask them what and why it is. So based on what they say, we can help you. If you say in key factor analysis, this something is something I did not understand, I will help you with that. Krishna, are you there? Krishna Goyal is not there in the meeting. Excellent. This last part of the call is very important. I mean, what's the point of saying, okay, I didn't understand this. This last entire, I don't know if this entire review session is there so that if you have an understanding of less than 5, I will help you in that and make you 5 out of 5. So this last session is not time pass. This is a very important part of the class where whoever is less than 5, we review it and try to understand why they are less than 5 and help them understand those topics better. So please don't treat these last 10 minutes as time pass. Okay, anyway, everybody else has given 5 out of 5. Today's class. I will see you tomorrow sharp at Indian time 5:30.